I'm gonna tell a quick thing about Suno Music here. Suno Music has a new beta function, and in this beta function, it's conversational. You say, I want this or that or the other lyric to be in this conversational piece, and you can also determine the instrumentality, and you can pre-play the result also. But the debate is if you are on Suno, are you really making music? So Suno is attempting to address that issue by taking away what is called the jukebox effect. Before you could Suno would put in all of the lyrics, they would put in all of the music, and the only thing that the person had to do was just push some buttons. I never really realized that with Suno because I always put in my own lyrics, and I put in lyrics in about 12 languages, from German, Latin, Spanish, Italian, French, Portuguese, Romanian, ancient Babylonian. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, how could you put in all of these languages? Even Zapoteca. Okay, Zapoteca, the only word I can say in Zapoteca is Guinea, which is people. And in ancient Babylonian, clearly, I cannot talk to anyone in the language, and I don't know the language. And pretty much no one else does either. Maybe one anthropologist might be speaking to another anthropologist. So I cannot comment on any translation in Zapoteca yet, but someone that I love deeply, she speaks Zapoteca, so she can tell me whether or not it's good or it's bad. Babylonian, I can't. I just made the song just to test the abilities of AI. But but what we really have here is a non-debate. Everyone who's a musician says, well, you can't really make music that way. Yeah, that's not making music. But we're about maybe 100 years removed from actual music making. Once Edison, and you go to the Henry Ford Museum, once Edison allowed for recording, then music making became suspect. Then you had tapes, the old tapes, and I used to have one of those, and you would splice the tape together. Okay, that's the same thing. We're not talking about medieval music where you actually had people actually making music. Once you start recording music digitally or audio, that means that the human being is not making music anymore. Like, for example, you can say that Elvis recorded a song in Sun Studio, but when you play the song today, that's not Elvis singing. You can say, well, that's Elvis's voice. That has the same quality as Elvis's voice, and he sung that song back in 57. But that's not Elvis singing the song in 1957. An actual event is an actual event, and an actual event is not a recording. So if a musician argues that you don't make music on AI, they might as well, like I said, go all the way back to Edison, and you can make the argument with Edison that they are not making music. And you can go all the way back to Socrates, who said that once you start writing language, that people are no longer talking. So if you read Socrates, something that's 2,000 years old, or you read what Jesus Christ is purported to have said, and they're talking about that's Jesus's exact words, or even to be more specific, you can't change the Bible, you can't change the Quran because this is the word of God. Okay, God does not speak on with paper and pencil. God does not speak in script. God has to speak to the person in actual speech. You know, The old prophets would say that God has to speak in actual speech. And believe it or not, when Moses put something that God said on tablets, that was heretical. People were shocked by that someone would actually claim that they could record the word of God. Okay, so all of this is new. Now, what brings me to this today is that the beta function on Suno is not really good yet. The beta, it's called a conversational function or something like that. It's not good yet. I prefer to use AI. You can use Gemini, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Gork, you can use one of the Chinese models, which are excellent. I'm trying to think of the other models that are out there. You know, Microsoft has a model, Meta has a model. All of them are really good. They're really, really, really excellent, and they're better than what's going on in Suno AI so far. So I implemented a song in Suno that was written in Spanish. And what I wanted Suno to do was to change it from you, an impersonal you, like hey baby, hey sweetheart, hey this, which the original song was in, and I wanted it to specifically change the song to Pandora's lover addressing Pandora and saying, Pandora, if we open this box, that we will not have eternal love, that our love will end. Okay, and that's why the Greeks actually had that myth. But what Suno did was match myth with myth, and put in the sword of Damocles, and put Pandora, don't open the box, and the sword of Damocles. But remember, the sword of Damocles talks about a catastrophic event. It talks about chaos, that if this sword falls, that the king shall fall. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. Whereas Pandora is more or less talking about the myth of Adam and Eve and biting the apple. And particularly what was told to Atlanta, and maybe I'm not saying her name correctly, but Atlanta, when she was racing, and the oracle said to her and her father that if she should happen to have intimate relationships with a man, that she shall die. And that's one of the reasons that she wanted to run really fast and outrun all of her suitors, because as long as she was not intimately involved, she would not die, the orator promised her. So that was the reason for making the song for Pandora. But Suno AI messed it up. Tried to put two Greek myths that were two Greek myths, but were unassociated philosophically. And then when I said, okay, well, what I want you to do is I want you to take the original music, and I want you to take an A7 chord, and you can arrange it, you can play it any way you want. Take an A7 chord and put an A7 chord as a riff. Now, let me show you the A7 chord so you can see what I'm saying. You go down to the 4th fret and go to this first little string, and then you go up and you go 1, 2, 3 over. And you go 1, 2, 3 over. And then you can play on any of these 3 strings. Any of the 3 strings. Or you can leave, you got a 4th option that you can leave it completely open. But when I tried to play it, and I picked it, when I tried to play it, and see, I'm selecting, and there's a reasonable sound right there. But when I tried to play it, I wasn't strumming it, I was picking it. So I couldn't get a reasonable sound, but this sounds good. Okay, come here. Okay, that's workable. Okay, the two upper strings are it's gonna have a reasonable tone. You can take that, record that, put that into Suno, and it will create a nice ornate riff. And it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, bring, boom, boom, exactly what I was playing. Boom, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Why do you want to use Suno? When people say that Suno does not make music, I call it the Bonnie Ratti principle. Bonnie Ratti, American songwriter, famous father. I don't know if he was a drummer, composer, horn player, whatever. But Bonnie Ratti wrote a song called Love Letter. And it went, I'm writing you a love letter, love letter. Push comes to shove. Da, 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 da. That's how she wrote the song. And that song has always impressed me. And now what's going on when you have Suno AI is you have the ability to write a personal love letter. So in the Pandora song, the person had put you, he, she, we, and had put a third person filler in there, which means that it's going to be limited as you go to another language. It's going to be limited to a third person vowel. It doesn't even go to the third person plural. I changed the song to the third person plural and named Pandora. And in this song, I'm singing to Pandora, si abrimos que caja, no tenemos amor, por eternidad, acabar amor de nos. That's what I'm saying, and philosophically, that's actually accurate. But on Bonnie Ratti's Love Letter, and this is why Suno and AI is so powerful. I had an appointment with a woman named Laura, and she was coming over to learn about the playing of guitars as much as I could tell her. And so what I did was I started with an A chord. And here's the A chord. There's the finger pattern. See, second fret, and you see where I'm on the strings. Second finger, third finger, fourth finger. So I took that and I went down and I just played, I think, let me see. I went played doom 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 doom, and I fed that into Suno, and all I wanted was just a rhythmic riff on a 1 2 3 4 beat, 1 2 3 4 beat, doom 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 doom, and I'm telling Laura how to use Suno. I had her downloaded, and I'm telling her how to play the guitar. So I took one guitar, she took the other guitar, and I'm telling her. But before she got here, I had to complete a song for her. And in this song, the song actually says, Laura. It says, Laura, tú estás conmigo en la tormenta. Tú estás conmigo en el sol. Tú estás conmigo en los buenos tiempos. Tú estás conmigo en los malos tiempos. Así, Laura, entre a la puerta. So when Laura came through the puerta, I was just about finishing the song. And I didn't talk to her. She was sitting here, and I didn't talk to her until I had finished the song. And then the song, Laura, entra a la puerta. Tú estás conmigo en las tormentas. Tú estás conmigo en el sol. Tú estás conmigo en los buenos tiempos. Tú estás conmigo en los malos tiempos. Okay, so I complete the song for her. And the song is about Laura. And you see that I have all of the running shoes in back of me as usual, and and I have all of the bikes. And so Laura is a gym girl, and she's the woman that you can see her back on my profile. That's Laura. She's a gym girl, and she's very committed and dutiful as far as going to the gym. Great shape, great inspirational person. You think about you anytime I get down and think that, hey, I don't want to work out. I can text Laura and say, hey, are you going to the gym today? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to the gym today. Then she doesn't have to say you should go too, but she just says, yes, I'm going to the gym today. And that keeps me in motion, that keeps me going. And now we have something new that we can do together, which is making music on Suno. And it all started with personal songs that I wrote to Laura about Laura. Well, on another song, a lady says to me, she said this the other day. She said, yo no quiero por ellos que quedan conmigo. Y yo quiero menos por ellos que se fueran. So she said, look, I don't care for those who stay with me, and I care even less for those who leave me. So when she said that, I wrote her a song, and I used exactly what she said as the refrain, is the chorus for the song. And then I went back, I sent the song to her, and she couldn't really relate to it. Then I went and visited her, and I played the song for her. And she realized that it wasn't just some song that had came out of, like Juanes or Jose or something that had came out of thin air and was forced upon her. It was her own words. And as she sat there and listened to her own words, her own realization about her place in life, it brought us together and formed a more meaningful connection. And what I'm saying to you is that Bob Dylan, great songwriter, but he can't write for you. You fall in love with Geraldine. He isn't going to write a song about Geraldine because maybe he doesn't like Geraldine's name. He isn't going to write a song about Claudia because maybe everybody in Minnesota and Hibbing, there are very few Claudias. So he's not going to write a song like that. He's not going to write a song on your wife's birthday. He's not going to write a song on your anniversary. He's going to write a general song, but he's not going to write a specific song that speaks to you and yours. There's that day in everyone's life where you feel defeated and you say to yourself, hey, I just don't feel that I can go on any longer. And on that day, you have the blues. Okay, let me show you something real quick. You can go to A chord, and you can take that exact same concept and go to Suno. And what Suno will recognize that is a blues chord. And then it'll put in whatever instruments you want with it. And then all you have to do is sing in the Suno and say, today I have the blues. The man was all over me. I just don't know if I can take it anymore. This just ain't worth the dough. Okay, you can say something, and I'm not trying to, I'm just going off the top of my head. I can't take this anymore. I don't know if this job is worth the dough. He can take this job and he can shove it. Okay, you can bite that country western guy from the 70s. You can bite him, you can throw in your own lyrics, and you can have your own blues song. And then when you get ready to go to that job or whatever it is, you can play that song. You can play that song on the way to work and on the way back to work. Okay, Conway Twitty, God bless him, he's dead. He can't do that for you. John Wayne, or who was that? Johnny Cash, God bless him. He can't do that for you. He's gone. What's that Waylon guy's name who's current? He can't do that. You know, Hank Williams Jr. the third, he can't do that for you. But now, because of AI, you can do it yourself. Every song that is produced by Suno AI is going to be commercial grade. Every song. Every song. It does that extremely well. So this argument that when someone says to you, oh, all Suno songs sound generic. If they all sound generic, isn't that the same thing that they were saying in the 1960s when you heard, oh, sugar, da, 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 dun, dun, oh, honey, honey. That was not real people singing. Milli Vanilli, not real people singing. Auto-tune, not real people singing. We're not talking about 1968 Aretha Franklin over there at the church, singing. We're not talking about that anymore. For the last 50 years, everything has been artificial, and I maintain that since Edison and you sung into that little tin can over there in Dearborn onto that wax, that has not been anything other than artificial. Elvis is dead. He can't sing anymore. But you can still hear Jailhouse Rock and Blue Suede Shoes. Okay. Get Suno. Get Suno. You got to be able to play an instrument. Get a guitar. When you get the guitar, just get a chord chart. Now you get your chord chart. Let me show you what else you need. It's probably down here somewhere. See if I got it. I don't have it. I mean, it's down here on the floor somewhere, but I'll just say what it is. You're going to need some picks, and then you're going to need a big pick. Just that one pick where, you got the one pick, you hold it here in your thumb like this, and you just pick straight across. Okay, and then with the picks, you're gonna go like this. Okay. Now, I use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to teach you music theory. So you have to know music theory. Now you're saying to yourself, well, I could watch some guy on the internet and he can show me music theory. No, he can't, because you can't remember what he told you. And you can't keep going back and forth through that video trying to remember it. If it's a 20-minute video, you're going to spend 20 minutes searching through it. Whereas you just hit ChatGPT and you say, explain to me music theory. And then you specify. Like in my case, I say, okay, I got this guitar. This is where I'm going to start. Tell me what the nomenclature is. And what I told ChatGPT, I don't want to play anyone else's songs. I want to play the guitar in the same way that I learn languages. So you pick your own style. And the way I learn languages is if I say the, and then I say the apple. Now, everybody today in modern English just says the house. They don't say the house. They'll say the dog, and they'll say the apple. They don't say the dog and the apple. Ephonagia is dead, basically, in English. It's like in English, people don't say anymore, if I were George Washington, I would not have crossed the Delaware. They say, if I was George Washington, I would not have crossed the Delaware. They just completely skip the subjunctive. But if you are an attentive listener, that's the way you learn language, is by listening to these little subtle differences, not by defining the words. So when it came to learning how to put some music down on the guitar, all I needed to know was what the chords were. Show me the chords. And one by one by one by one, I'll just make music and songs with the chords. And that's called the Leonard Bernstein method, where he's going to use one chord and then he's going to wrap words around it. Now, another person who does that, Lou Reed, Take a Walk on the Wild Side. Lou Reed is going to take 1, 2, 3 chords maximum. He isn't Knopfler, you know. He isn't Mark Knopfler. He isn't him. He isn't that guy. He's taking something very simple. So you can take one chord, and let's go back to that A. We're going back to that A7. We go back to the A7. And what you're trying to do here is you're trying to determine, see, that sounds better right there. You're trying to determine sound. Once you determine sound, then you can go la, 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 la. And then you got sound. You match sound for sound. Once you match sound for sound, then you match word for word. La, 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 la. Lay, lay, layla, 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 layla. See, just that simple. Just that simple. It's all simple. You don't get complicated here. You're gonna make your own music for your own self. And with Suno, they allow you to do that. They add more tools, but you have to understand some music theory. You have to be able to whistle. You have to be able to fairly well carry a tune. You don't have to be able to hit every note, because Voloco, which is another music program, Voloco is going to go in and auto-tune your voice and clean it up, and you can shoot it straight into Suno. And there are tricks where you can use your voice in Suno. So you don't have to use Suno's voice. But in Voloco, you can use your voice. Okay? So everything that you want in terms of being able to write a Bonnie Ratti Love Letter is there for you. So what you got to do is you got to download Suno. You got to download Voloco. You got to go get a guitar. You got to go get an oboe. You got to go get a flute. You can even and I'm going to play a little bit of this song that was written for Laura so that you can hear it, and I'll post it, and then you can see the quality of the song.
Cuando pase la tormenta, sigues conmigo, como luz que no duda, como fiel testigo. No eras recuerdo ni sombra que huye, eras la calma que en mi pecho fluye. Amor, la puerta, la tormenta o calma, eres tú quien habita mi alma. Estás conmigo en el sol que me quema la piel, en la lluvia que cae, suave y fiel, en las nubes que pasan, en la tierra que piso, en el aire que respiro, en todo lo que existe. En ti lo divino
Now you see how that works? See how that works? Laura really appreciated a song that described her eyes, her hair color, her body, her height, her weight, her person.